Hi, SDGC Live is here, and I am hosting, and I am really well equipped to do this. So yeah, it's just the four of us tonight: Justin, Derek, and mysterious Jeff over there. But yeah, so we're just here to talk about up there. So yeah, tonight, quiet night. It's a quiet week. Well, actually, except it's not a quiet week. If you're over at PlayStation.
Yeah, it's not a
Before
quiet
we
week. We just have a lot of people who needed the week off, so it's a small week
Yeah,
for us.
Yeah.
yeah, small week for us. Small week for us. So I guess before we jump into what we've been playing, I just want to introduce everybody. This is Derek somewhere over here, Jeff, and then Justin. But yeah, so guys, what have we been playing this week?
I guess I can go first. I've mentioned on the last couple shows that I jumped into Game Pass for PC because you sold me very hard on Gears 5, and I played through Gears Ultimate, and I played through Gears 4, and I started Gears 5 today. And I'm quite liking it. It's a lovely game. It feels incredible to play. It's been really interesting jumping from the first game to the fourth game to the fifth game and feeling those like gameplay and narrative improvements. But I've been really digging Gears of War 5.
What did you think of Gears 4? It's kind of the black sheep. Well, Judgment's the black
Yeah.
sheep, but Gears 4 is a little bit weird. How'd you understanding on that?
So, I mean, now remember, I didn't really play 2 and 3, so like I'm missing some of the, stuff in between. I know everybody was really upset that you spend a good chunk of the early game in 4 fighting robots instead of,
Right.
not the locust. But like they were fine. They were good enough enemies. They were satisfying to fight. They had some interesting new weapons. Like, I guess I wasn't so invested in the original trilogy that I was upset to not have a similar type of enemy to fight.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the cast that gets introduced in 4. I like it how it improved gameplay wise over the original. I do not like JD Phoenix as a character. He felt very much like a very bad Nathan Drake knockoff to me. But the rest of the cast around him was fantastic, and I love that very early in Gears 5, they kind of are just like, you're kind of a shitty dude. Like, and take him out of the picture.
Exactly. Yeah, like it's like they took all the feedback. It's interesting to see like Coalition take the feedback that JD was really generic, and they're like, hey, instead of making him better, what if we just leaned into the fact that he fucking sucks actually?
Yeah, I was not a
which
fan
is
of
cool.
him both sidesing things all through the first act, and I was like, this doesn't feel good. And then by the end of the first act, they fully leaned into like, no, he actually like was responsible for the violence at these riots, and is like, oh, so you just suck then. Like every like hardcore both sides are the same centrist, you're actually it's fishhook theory. You know what I mean?
Well, it's 2019. Even Gears of War's got politics, baby.
Everything's all art is political.
Yeah.
That's just how it be.
Fair enough.
Unless it comes from Ubisoft.
Well,
we all know.
But
we all know that.
But then it's just the marketing that's
Ubisoft
political. Their attempt to be apolitical is political. But yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Gears
I mean
5.
like yeah, Gears 5. It's more Gears, and I'm glad you're liking it. It's cool to see you jump from 1 to 4 to 5, and like I mean, man, if you can get around to playing Gears 3, it's worth doing.
Yeah,
but
I just think I'm missing a lot of the baggage that made people dislike 4, so I went into 4 and I was just like, oh, this is fun too, like
fair enough.
Yeah.
I get it. Jeff, what have you been playing, bud?
I'm back on my Final Fantasy 14 train, going on 3 months now, approaching 200 hours. Yeah, it's been a ride. But before that, I wrapped up Control. I know, I think some of you guys have talked about that on the show before. I don't have as much to say about it as I wish I did. I compared it to Prey, and I feel very similar about the two, where I love the world, and I love the environment, and I love the setting, and I love the visual design. I love the art. The gameplay in Control is much better than the gameplay in Prey. But both of them have really significant flaws that really brought the game down for me. In Prey, it was some of the late game combat stuff. They're just the amount of enemies they're throwing at you. In Control, I hate to get caught up on something that seems small, but I don't feel like it's small. The checkpoint issue. It's a problem. You like you basically every time you die, you get sent back to one of these control points, and sometimes, especially, it seems much more prominent in the side quests. where you might have to run for like 3 minutes through like 10 different rooms. And this game has a personal pet peeve of mine, which is respawning enemies, but they're not even consistent. There's been times where I load up the game, run through a room, and there's no enemies, and then die and go back to the control point, and then the enemies respawn.
Yup.
And I know,
Yeah.
yeah, like I know you can avoid them.
Yeah, I think they're on like
But
a
then, like,
timer.
as I
I
try to
don't think
dodge them,
it's
I'm taking hits, and the way the game works, I can't restore my health unless I attack them to like get my health back. So it's just, like I can't describe how annoyed I got in a couple sections where I'm like, it's gonna take me 5 minutes to do this thing, and it took 2 hours.
Yeah.
But the rest of the game is fantastic. The powers are really cool. I really liked the tone that they went with. It's very open-ended and vague, but it didn't bother me. I didn't feel like it was a game where you need to have every loose end wrapped up. And looking at their DLC roadmap, there's clearly a lot to come. So
Yeah. I mean, and like it's such a weird game in that the story stuff feels super, super confident, and then even the combat itself is pretty confident, if not a little bit repetitive at times. But like I just found that checkpoint system. I haven't finished the game, and that's mostly why. Is because
I was very close to dropping it because of that. There was one part I was like, I'm going to try this once more, and if I get thrown back to the stupid checkpoint again, I'm done. And luckily, I finished it. But yeah, it's still a great game. Like I'd still recommend everyone play it. It's very unique. Remedy's a great developer. Like I'm happy to support them. There's still not a lot of these. I don't know if you call this game AAA, but like very linear focused, high production value, story based game. I'm always going to support these. And then I want to touch on Final Fantasy 14 because I haven't I've been going through it for a long time and I haven't talked about it in a while. I'm on the second expansion, Stormblood. And I was a little bit disappointed at first. Heaven's Ward gets a lot of attention. It's got a really sprawling epic storyline about a big war between dragons and the Ishgardians, which are one of the human factions. Stormblood is all about politics, so if you don't like politics in your games, don't play Stormblood.
Okay.
It's a huge critique on colonialism. There's a lot of identity politics in there as well, and it's cool. It just really takes you to ground level and gets you interacting with all these different villages and countries and individual characters and people and seeing how being ruled by this like dictatorial force, the Garlean Empire, has just completely robbed them of all their will and just a lot of the personal stories that they've woven into that. The writing in the game is like, it's really, really good and really strong. And it's too bad that it takes so long to get to these really good expansions because the base game is a little bit more hit and miss.
Can you ballpark how long? Like, if I wanted to start that game from scratch right now, how long would it take me there? Or can I can I pay for a booster or something?
You can pay for a booster. The way the boosters work, you can do a jobs like level skip, which will basically just it'll take you up to like close to the highest levels. But the problem with that is you don't learn the abilities along the way. So there's probably a big learning curve when you jump in and you have like 50 different, the way an MMO works, like 50 different spells or whatever unlocked. So I actually have a log. So time commitment, the base game took me 40 hours. Basically, each section of the game is kind of like the standard RPG length. So the base game took me 40 hours. And the way the game works is there's expansions every 2 years. And then in between those expansions, they have 2 years worth of patch content. So the base game's 40 hours. It took me another 30 hours to get the content between the base game and the first expansion. Heaven's Ward, I have 40 hours. Between Heaven's Ward and Stormblood was 30 hours. And Stormblood, I'm just coming up on 30 hours. So, but the way it works, like each one feels like a distinct storyline. So they're almost just like a sequence of games, one after the other. And they're all about 30 to 40 hours for each kind of overarching story. So when you look at it all together and you're like, oh my God, it's 200 hours, but you don't need to look at it like that. You can just play as much as you want. Like, if you drop it, that's fine. Like, I think people get too hung up on the end game. I went into it. I never play games for this long. I thought I would have dropped it a long time ago. Just give it a chance because it's a really special game.
Sick. Yeah, I mean that's a game that feels like the last 3 months like we've heard nothing about except for like everybody's like, hey, this game actually has really cool things to say. And yeah, if you want to play it all, it's gonna take like 200 hours. But yeah, it's cool to hear that you could get to a more accessible level if you wanted to.
Like what 2/3 of our show has been playing that game like mad for a couple months.
Yeah. 2/3 of our folks have been diving in. Yeah, for sure. So I guess Justin, we should move on to what you and I have been playing. And like this isn't a review. We're gonna keep it keep it brief, but I guess you and I have a unique perspective with Destiny 2, which just came out on Tuesday. You are a longtime fan who kind of plays everything that Bungie puts out, and then I have bought in every expansion for Destiny 2, but I'm very fair weather, really not paying a ton of attention to the lore. Without spoiling anything, Shadowkeep, is it good?
So Shadowkeep's cool. It's interesting as like I almost feel like people that haven't played Destiny as much might actually enjoy Shadowkeep a bit more than I have. Not that I'm not enjoying it. I really have, been having a fun time with it. But a lot of it is like remastered and remixed Destiny 1 content. Like exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not screaming lazy devs or anything. It's stuff that I'm kind of glad got moved forward because there's a lot of really good stuff that got left in Destiny 1. But there kind of isn't all that much that's new in Shadowkeep if you've been playing Destiny for a while, aside from gears, like some gear stuff. But there is some really, really awesome lore stuff, and they're finally starting to pay off things that they were teasing even 5 years ago. It's an interesting expansion, and I think it's really suitable for this point in time for where Destiny is. It just left Battle.net and switched over to Steam. It went free to play. The base game and the first year of content and all the PvP content is available to everyone for free on any platform. Cross save is now active, so you can take your characters between platforms with you. So like Shadowkeep is simultaneously a love letter to Destiny 1 and a major setup for what's coming for Destiny 2. And I think it's a really good expansion for where Bungie and Destiny is at this point in time. I don't think it's my favorite Destiny expansion, but I mean, we still have the raid coming. There's a dungeon coming later this month. And they've kind of teased some other stuff is coming. So I'm going to hold out final thoughts until I really explore some of this stuff and see how their new approach to seasons and updates go. But I'm having a great time with it. It's a really cool expansion.
Yeah, and it's just different than previous expansions. Like it definitely lacks some of the depth that I have seen with like even like especially compared to Forsaken, right? Like it does not feel like it has the depth of Forsaken, but it feels like it's a lot wider in terms of like it's got a greater breadth of what they're starting to set up. And like as Justin like said, like the first mission, like they seem to be pretty forthcoming about like, hey, some big shit you've been waiting for is about to pay off. Yeah, like you're saying, like it feels like a lot of stuff that like it feels like a greatest hits of Destiny 1, but kind of in a good way. And like it's also just one thing we didn't touch on is like they're moving to this new seasonal model. And so it'll be really, really interesting. And this is also so kind of it is not exactly like Fortnite, but the thing they're moving towards is like the idea of we're going to be able to move world states across everybody's game at the same time. So like there can be world events, like let's say a new alien faction invades or something. It could happen across everybody's game world at the same time. And so that feels like they're just laying the groundwork for some more like in the moment. I guess like what would you call that? Like
just kind of like a living, breathing world kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people wanted from the original pitch for Destiny. And I think that's what Bungie wanted from the original pitch for Destiny. And they've been very forthcoming and really doing a great job of communicating with their players since the split from Activision. This is the first piece of content that they have released completely independently. And like, also we haven't mentioned, we're talking about the content drop that is Shadowkeep, but there's also been huge quality of life changes. They've made stats and weapon customization and armor customization way more in depth. There's a lot of sweeping changes to the game that even if you're jumping in now, even if you're playing some of the content that wasn't Destiny's best, you're still playing it with like the gameplay and quality of life changes that have been made since then, which is really cool. I'm really interested to see what like new players that jump in on the free to play train have to say, because It's apparently doing huge on Steam. It's been like 200,000 concurrent players basically consistently since Tuesday. And the 1, 2, and 3 best-selling slots on Steam are all paid expansions for Destiny.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to touch on the new player thing, if you guys don't mind.
Oh,
Yeah, of
go
course.
ahead, Jeff. Yeah.
I'm not a new player. Like I played Destiny 1 and I played Destiny 2 at launch. I played the raid. So like I'm a fan. I'm a casual fan. I haven't played it. I didn't play any of the DLC. I didn't play Forsaken. So I bought Forsaken and I reinstalled the game, and I did a bit of poking around online to make sure that this wasn't just me. But there's a few problems. I love what you're talking about with kind of this dynamic world that changes and goes on. But it's a complicated problem because think about this from the perspective of a new player. Like for example, I reinstalled the game. I haven't played in like 2 years. I have Forsaken, and I load up in the tower, and that's it. Your milestones, which used to have quests in them, the only quest in my milestones little menu is Shadowkeep, which I don't own. And there's nothing. I wandered around the tower for 15 minutes and had to actually Google, like, how do I do something? How do I do a quest?
Yeah.
I think
you have to go
the-
to. Sorry, go ahead, Justin.
Sorry, what I've heard is like the new light, which is like kind of the rebranded free-to-play version, does a really good job of introducing you to stuff.
That's
but
what I heard too.
But it sounds like for lapsed players, it's kind of a mess.
So I watched a stream of someone playing the new light version. It's basically the same thing. You do the remade version of the first quest from Destiny 1, and then you basically just still get dropped off in the tower. And
Weird.
yeah, like there's no. It gives you like teaches you how to play the game, but it doesn't give you direction on what to do. All of the legacy content. If you're a new player, I'm guessing like either you don't care about the story at all, or you probably want to start from the beginning and play the main campaign. But the Red War, which is like the vanilla Destiny 2 campaign, along with Curse of Osiris and Warmind, are buried with a vendor in a hangar way in the corner of the tower.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, even for new players, as far as I can tell. I've watched some videos. There's nothing telling you, hey, to start the story, go here. And it's a very strange thing. And on top of that, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil the vanilla events of Destiny 2. Like, yeah, it's kind of weird. Like you're in the tower, but like the tower,
Narratively, yeah.
you should be on the farm because the tower's gone. And then you come back to it's just like, it really messes with the narrative. And it's like, I'm not saying there's an easy fix for it. It's a tough, like, this is maybe the best compromise that they could have, but it is a bit of a challenge, I think. And it just proves how hard it is to satisfy everyone with these kind of things.
Well, and that's the thing, Jeff, is like what you're saying right now as a concern of like, hey, like the dissonance of like what should be happening narratively if I'm a new player starting from day one, and then what's actually happening like in terms of like the tower actually being functional again is like this is something that they're gonna have to address before they move to a place where like dynamic events can happen across everybody's game world at once, right? Like they're just gonna have to figure out a way to make it work. Like New Light seems like it's doing a lot of things. Like I think New Light's a cool way to get new onboarding where people can try your game for free. Like I think that's a good idea. But like I don't think New Light is a sustainable model where like I don't think that you could come to Destiny 2 and play every day for free like you could other free to play games. I think you're gonna hit an upper limit before you're gonna have to start spending money in terms of like, getting new content.
I mean, I think I actually kind of think the opposite, because I think I mean they've changed how the Eververse store works. And also now that, they're not backed by a major publisher, I think a lot of people are probably going to feel better. It's like, oh, my money goes directly to Bungie now and not to Activision, which I know was a big thing among the Destiny community as well. But like also now you can buy the expansion packs, and Bungie seems fine with that. Like it seems like there's a lot of ways that you could transfer from being like a free player to a paying player.
Oh yeah.
And I think that just having a combination, like the combination of ways could be, lucrative for them. I have no idea. It'll be interesting to see, but clearly it's given the player base a huge shot in the arm.
Yeah, I don't think it's going after. I don't think they're chasing the same Fortnite style, like make the free to play version the moneymaker. I think that's more just like let's reduce the barrier to entry, let people see
Right.
what Destiny's all about, and hope that they like the game enough to go and buy the expansions and then catch up to the where everyone else
Yeah.
is at.
Yeah.
But I do think your concerns are totally valid, which is like it does at least on its surface feel really scummy to me that like the pitch is that hey you got to play the first mission and now they're like oh yeah that first mission it's actually Shadowkeep or you can go find someone in the far corner where we're not
Yeah,
gonna,
and
like,
it's labeled
like, that
legacy
feels-
content, and it's just like
yeah
it's
Ooh,
given no
I'm-
fanfare. It feels
no.
like you don't
Yeah.
really need to do this.
they should just call it new light content or something yeah that's a little bit
Greasy
iffy.
or
old
like give
bitch
you an option
content
like, hey, do you
over in
want to
the
start
corner.
from the very beginning, or do you want to
Yeah.
just get to the? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like play from the beginning, catch up with my friends or something like that. Yeah, it seems. I mean, like it's cool, and I'm interested to see what Bungie can do from here. But yeah, like for new players, but also just in terms of like what they've set up narratively. Like I'm liking what I've played of Destiny 2 Shadowkeep so far. Like I haven't beaten it like Justin, but I'm pretty close. And like as somebody who's kind of a fair weather fan for this series, like it's more Destiny. It feels good. It looks cool on my PC. I used to play from Xbox, and now I moved over to PC. So. Yeah, I don't know. It seems cool. Do we have any other like Destiny 2 things before we hop over to talking about Sony?
Not really. I think a lot of what I have to say is kind of hitting up on spoiler territory. And there's,
Okay.
one thing I want to give Bungie credit for is one thing that also always used to annoy me is they used to go into so much detail about what each expansion entailed because everybody was asking, where's the content for Destiny? Where's the content for Destiny? This is the first time they've actually kept a lot of stuff under wraps to the point where they were even kind of teasing that the main point of the campaign is different from what it actually is. They've done a really good job of keeping things under wraps, and there's some really cool surprises for people that have been following story and lore stuff, which made me very happy.
Yeah, Justin. Before we move on to Jeff, really just a quick question from the chat asking about a new light. And Justin, I think you might be able to answer it if Jeff and I can't. Somebody asked if you start as a new light, how much content do you get?
So
as a
New
player?
Light is the base game, Curse of Osiris, Warmind, the year one expansions, and all of the Crucible content. So every map from and everything that has released.
So basically everything except for Shadowkeep, Forsaken, and then last year's annual pass.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
And I'm not 100% sure about how Gambit fits in. I think they're going to have occasional like free Gambit weekends or something for people that haven't played it. I think it's not included, but yeah. So for PvE, you get everything. You get everything from year one. So vanilla, first two expansions, and you get everything for Crucible. I think Gambit is locked out.
Gambit's in a weird place. Like it even seems like Bungie's not totally sure what to do with Gambit.
Yeah,
in terms of, like, they don't know which version.
And I think now, if you buy Forsaken, it includes all the annual pass content. So like all the extra end game stuff that was added in the seasons for Forsaken, you just have to buy for Forsaken, and then you get that. And then Shadowkeep.
Right. Okay. All right. Did somebody have one more thing before we moved on?
Yeah, I did. Derek, I'll let Derek go ahead.
Oh, mine is much less meaningful. So, what's the deal with everyone bringing back the Moon's Haunted meme?
Okay, so it was just the moon is haunted in
Is the moon
Shadowkeep.
literally haunted?
The moon is literally haunted. So initially, when that tweet went around, people made jokes about Destiny 1 and the moon being haunted because that is kind of the moon's thing. It's super haunted in Shadowkeep. There are literal ghosts just floating around on the moon.
Welcome to Spouting.
And they're wailing. You get patrol missions from the ghosts of Guardians that died on the moon.
Yeah, they're actually quite mopey ghosts. As you walk by them, they're like, "Are you the one that can help me?" And I'm like, "No, motherfucker, looking for a chest." Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, no,
weird, but it's
Moon's
cool.
real haunted.
Moon is real haunted. Yeah,
real
it's cool.
haunted.
Warms
it's
my
weird but cool.
cold, ironically depressed heart.
Yeah. Also, I mean, like this goes without saying because Bungie's always been good at this shit. But like the skyboxes in this game are just so it's a fucking gorgeous expansion. Everything about it, and I mean, it looks great on console too, but on PC too, I've been especially impressed.
Destiny's
Um,
art department is
is
probably some of the best in the entire business.
Yup.
It's even the
yo,
base game, the stuff like all the hive areas when I was on I think Titan, going through some of the like just some of the caves and stuff like that, and the lighting and the architecture in the game. It's
There,
yeah,
there were a couple like reveal points in Shadowkeep. I actually gasped when
yeah,
I saw them.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jeff, everything you're saying is like up to the next level. Like exactly what you're saying. Like you will, like the game is set up where like you'll come around a bend and they'll be like, oh, here's a vista with a cool narrative, like unpacking too. It's incredible. Yeah, it's a beautiful fucking thing. Okay, so Jeff, did you have one more question before we move on?
yeah.
To some...
So, and I think it's kind of a more broader topic that's tied to Destiny, and
Okay.
I know Derek's been a little bit quiet because I don't think he's been playing Destiny, but I think everyone can chime in on this one.
Never played a Destiny.
We got time on the show. I want to talk about like launch day issues for big online games. It happens at least 50% of the big games that launch that rely on servers, online connectivity. So like I guess I just want to frame it like, is this acceptable? There's two things, right? We'd say be patient. Things are hard. But at the same time, people are paying money for a product. So at what is a reasonable expectation? Is it just like, as long as developers are transparent about it, does that make it okay? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on what are players owed in terms of functionality day one? What is an acceptable window? What's an acceptable response? Because these things, if you talk to anyone who has worked in network infrastructure, servers, they will tell you these things they are impossible to prevent. You can do your best. A lot of people get lucky and don't run into problems, but it's nearly impossible to 100% say there will be no problems because you cannot predict what will happen until you flip that switch.
That's fair. From the perspective of the people who actually that's their job or their career take care of. They all tell us that it's a significantly harder thing to be prepared for than any of us understand. And I'm inclined to believe people for whom that is their career over gamers on twitter.com. I mean, we got to acknowledge, like it's been noted, any major online multiplayer game, there are almost always some kind of stumbles. Sometimes it's so small that we don't really like make a big deal out of them. We just got to wait in queues for a little longer than we would normally put up with. But it's a big new game on release day and handle that. Or sometimes you have like major login issues and like not enough space for players, like absurdly long wait times to actually get onto the server and play. And that happens often enough with major games that like people get caught by it was weird to me when people were caught by surprise that we had these issues with Destiny. It was like, look, I've never played Destiny. I know nothing about Destiny specifically, but it doesn't matter because we keep seeing this stuff happen. So why be surprised by it? It's a thing. It is a common problem. Like, and
although Destiny's usually immune to it. Like,
yeah,
that's the weird thing.
That's I think the reason why people got mad. That's just what I was gonna say. I have been playing Destiny since the first alpha. Shadowkeep is the first time since the beta that I have had issues with online in Destiny. It is remarkably stable, which is part of the reason why I wasn't so mad about it, because it was gonna have to happen sometime. And influx of free-to-play players, people coming back for a new expansion, moving to Steam, like those servers probably fried.
There's a lot going on at once. Yeah.
And they were pretty quick on fixing it. It was like, I think they took all the servers down for like 2 hours or so, and it's been fine since then.
So I mean, it's like it depends like what we just determine as a quick fix, right? Like it launched 1 p.m. and like I was able to log in and actually play a mission in its fullest, like as it was meant to be intended by like 8 or 8:30. So like 7.5 hours, and it's hard because like it's like I get why people get frustrated about it. But I also feel like, I mean, like, you can't be mad at Bungie. I'm sure Bungie wasn't happy. Like, okay, so this isn't. I'm not going to spoil the narrative. I'm just going to give a setup. Like, the way Shadowkeep starts is it's meant to be you and several other guardians, like the beginning of Destiny 2. Instead of defending a place, you're a siege. It's a siege. You're taking something on, and it's a big fight. And it's supposed to be an instance where you're pulling in dozens of other players to fight around you, or at least feel like dozens of other players. And it didn't work for me when I was playing it when server issues were happening. And so it's supposed to be a huge siege, and it's just me, and like there's all these explosions happening around you, and like it's like it was gonna feel cool if there were like a dozen of us, but instead there's like all these like fake explosions happening around me because it's supposed to be like other people are with me, and it's like it's not really there. And the first mission,
Zach, it was cool when I did it. So,
well, yeah, I believe you. But like, my point is that like Bungie set this up. Bungie set this up to feel like it's gonna be like this awesome moment where like you're with your friends, you're retaking the moon, you're on the offensive, and then it's like it's me, and I'm kind of struggling to fight these people because like it's me and a bunch of fucking AI shooting me. So it's like one of those things where it's like Bungie's not happy with this, we're not happy with this, but it's also 2019, and like yeah. It's an always online game. Like this shit happens and it fucking sucks, but what can we do?
I think for me the thing is how consistent after launch it happens, and how transparent the team is about fixing it, and how long these problems persist. Like if it's 2, 3, 4 day or more days later, and you're still having regular outages with the service, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not hearing from the team. I remember, I think it was Drive Club. It was like a month before they had their online functionality.
I can tell you about Drive Club. I was in Drive Club day one.
Yeah, and it was
Boy,
it was
not
mostly
that was
a game that had gotten delayed a year, and then it came out, and the online stuff didn't work for like a month, and it's mainly an online game
for several months. Literally, they had to rebuild the entire network infrastructure. You could not play the game online for months.
Yeah,
I was gonna bring up my experience with the Master Chief Collection. It seems I guess
another good one
is that I guess what I was gonna say is that like we've had numerous instances of like really fucking terrible launches this generation, and I would Destiny 2 Shadowkeep is nothing compared to those. Like it was fine. I mean, it sucked for 6 hours, and obviously my first experience with it was like a bad taste because like the servers were fucked. But also like somebody who starts it today is not gonna have that mediocre experience that I did. I mean, it could have been worse, I guess, is what I'm saying.
And like, people, it's not to say it shouldn't work right away, but there's things you can do to make sure you have a good experience. I know you want to be there right away. Wait 3 hours, like, just look online, see if people are having issues, like wait a day. Like it, there's going to be problems, and I'd compare it to like going to like an Apple store on like the day of an iPhone launch. Like you could staff as many people as you want. Like it's just, there's going to be lineups. It's going to take forever. It's going to be a little bit of chaos. That's just how the nature of a big launch is. But you can never appropriately scale things for that influx of people, because in a week you literally have half the amount of people logging on as you did in that first day, right? Like,
right.
So
yeah, because also there's no other like hour that is going to have as many people trying to log on as that initial it went live.
And also with launching a free-to-play version, I guess normally they could probably gauge based on pre-order numbers and kind of get an estimate. How do you know how many people are going to click that download button?
Yeah.
And it seems like there was way more than they thought. Like I think in the update today they said it wasn't even just the sheer player load. There was just something about like there was just something that about like connecting to certain instances that was broken. It wasn't just the sheer load, it was something else in the system.
And I wanted to mention that, Justin, because like even Bungie was like immediately in that release talking about like, hey, please don't blame the new players. It's not their fault. Please don't do that. I mean, it's cool. I mean, like everything about what Bungie is doing right now is like trying to broaden the amount of people who can come play. Because right now, Destiny 2 has always been like a very, very dedicated, but not as big as people might have expected or wanted to be. So, I mean, they're making the right moves. But yeah, I mean, are we ready to talk about Sony?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been a big week for Sony, and I guess we'll start with Shawn Layden. And actually, the way it was announced, so Shawn Layden, what was his official job title? Sorry,
he was I believe he was chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment Studios.
Right.
I think he was chairman and Shuhei Yoshida was president. It might have been the other way around. I don't know what the difference between a chairman and a president is.
I believe he was prime minister.
But it's really complicated because they shuffled so many people around when Trenton left, right? Like that was what mostly.
Yeah, because initially Layden had Trenton's position as president of SIE America.
Right.
And then he got position changed to being just in charge of the studios. But
so when
also
when
in charge
down,
with Shuhei Yoshida.
CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios. He was CEO of Worldwide Studios, not of Sony.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he was initially Sony America, and then for the past couple of years, he's been Worldwide Studios.
Right, and so the way this was announced was actually pretty unusual, especially for Sony.
Yeah.
Which was like middle of the maybe around 5 o'clock Eastern time. Maybe they sent out a thing and they were like, and honestly, the tone sounded a little bit more bleak than it ended up being.
They were like,
they were like, it is with a lot of emotion. With a lot of emotion, we have announced that Shawn Layden has been is departed.
Is no longer with us.
He's no longer with us. We don't know what happened. But the phrasing was like, we're so appreciative of what he did, but he's gone now, and it's weird because
we left Shawn Layden in the backyard, but we forgot to lock the gate. He got out. He's got his collar on, but he's not microchipped.
So the weird thing is like Sony is typically like they're very especially their business side is very press release oriented, and so it was weird to not see anything from this. I think this is the big news shakeup people are talking about. But the other thing is I don't know how many of you guys are a weirdo like me. But my journalist brain is I should keep checking Shawn Layden's Twitter and see what he's been liking over the past few days. And what he's been liking the past few days are people being like, wow, he did a great job. It's gonna be really hard to fill those shoes, which to me doesn't sound like something that I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate about
it's weird.
It's not overly negative, but there's a little bit of a pattern, but maybe we're just looking too hard into it. But
and then the Japanese press release said he retired. Said he retired, but also there was then the next day one of the Japanese execs retired.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was it had a weird title because it was Japan Asia president was it
was the Japan Asia head.
Yeah, which was weird. Sorry, Jeff, what were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say I think it just was a different tone, and like you said, it was the way they delivered the news was different than normal. Usually they have a big public announcement, like when Andy House left and stuff like that. Especially when they've been with the company for so long in such a prominent position. And it did feel like it was a bit of an uncomfortable separation. Something happened, someone wasn't. I don't know. It didn't feel like nobody it feels like somebody either on the Sony end or the Layden side. It didn't leave 100% amicable. I'm sure there's no feelings, but it doesn't feel like both sides were equally happy with where things ended up. But so I guess some of the discourse here that we've seen of over last week, both with the president of Japan Asia and then also Shawn Layden, is that people are saying, wow, this is a lot of yes it was the end of the quarter, which is a significant time for people to see turnover, but also we're expecting PS5 next November, which is, 13 months from now, but we are expecting to probably have a reveal event for this game in potentially as soon as February.
You mean the PlayStation 5?
Yeah, sorry.
You just said game. I was just clarifying.
Excuse me. Sorry.
There's 8 of those.
Sorry, my bad.
Waypoint set in chat says someone is walking into Sony and taking down every mini boss before they get to Yoshida.
But seriously though, so I guess my thing is that without and I would say Shawn Layden has and listen, maybe this is just somebody who's been consuming a lot of Xbox products for the last decade, but I felt like Shawn Layden was slowly adapting to that Phil Spencer energy. And so now without him there, who is their guy who makes the big pitch for the PS5 in 3 months or 4 months or whatever? Is it Yoshida? Who's their big guy now?
Yeah,
I think they need to go out and get one.
They haven't announced who's replacing Layden yet.
Nope.
The thing with
Kevin
this,
Butler's
roles,
coming back.
The thing with these roles is they're executives, and yes, they're there to sell you products. You know, we know these companies aren't your friends, but one thing that Phil does great and Sony has done great is putting human people that feel genuine, and you don't mind being sold a product because, you know, even if they're awkward and stilted sometimes, you still feel like they're a person talking to you on a personal level, whether that's genuine or whether it's a very good play. It's important to have that kind of personality that can convey that message and convey that sense of feeling and trust. You can't just put anyone
Right.
out on the stage, and I think it's harder than people think to find those people.
I mean, I guess I listened. Maybe Shawn Layden said no to an Act 3, and Mark Cerny whispered him into submission. I don't know. I mean, like right now, it's like, I mean, the thing is that, and Ryan has said a lot of really good. I always want to call him Jack Ryan, it's Jim, right?
Jim Ryan, yeah.
Yeah, like I always like Jim Ryan has a history of putting his foot in his mouth, but he's actually been pretty good this week. In his statement,
this week is the funniest qualifier you could have given that.
This week he's been actually horrible. But he did say that, like, you know, the biggest thing that you see is like the track record for the console that has the leading sales actually struggles in the next gen. And my biggest focus is not complacency, which is like, it was in the press release where I'm talking about they're going to be more open with crossplay, which is the right thing to hear. But it's just, he doesn't have a track record for not fucking up. And so it begs the question, if you do not replace Shawn Layden, then it's either Ryan or Mark Cerny's going to whisper ASMR us into the PS5 era, which is also possible.
Which, if it's Cerny, I'd be so happy. I love listening to that man talk.
He's very soothing, and they let him. He was the guy who was. God, but like he was. I mean, so he was the Justin. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mark Cerny. I mean, he is the hardware guy, but like he was the one who actually did the big wired blowout, right? When they
he did
PS5
the big wired blowout, and he also did pretty much the whole PS4 reveal presentation and the PS4 Pro. He usually does like a big tech presentation for those sorts of things.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess my thing is, and Justin, I know you and I have talked about this extensively this week, but I guess I want to hear Derek and Jeff first. I just want to hear, like, do you guys think this is like a cause for concern in terms of, you know, PlayStation's positioning with PS5? Do you think we've got enough time? Do you think it's indicative of anything, or is it just like, yeah, there's staff turnover sometimes, and the end of the generation is the right time to do it? What are we thinking?
What I said before is these people, Andy House, Shawn Layden, and Yoshida's been there a long time too. They've been there for like at least 20 years, maybe even longer in some cases. That's a long time to be at a company. So part of it could just be coincidence. This is a lot of people who've been at a company for a long time, and all of them are just feeling like it's time to move on. And also, I don't know the relationship between all of them, but sometimes you're at a place because you're cozy and you like the people you work with, and you know, maybe some of their friends and longtime colleagues leaving is enough to just say like, okay, maybe me too. It's definitely not good timing. I won't say they're leaving because there's problems with the PS5, but it cannot be good to have so much of your senior leadership leave right before you're set to launch a new console. Like, because now whoever you bring in new, you have to get all the messaging on point. You have to get everyone back in sync. It's very disruptive. So I think that's the part that's a little worrying to me. But I don't think it'll affect like the development of the system at all or any of the real policies. It's also tough with Sony because I feel like their structure is really weird. I can never quite figure out who is who or who reports to who. Like, I feel like Xbox and Microsoft is very straightforward. Like, I know who
everybody goes up to Greenberg, baby.
But I don't know, Sony, just because of the globalization and the way their North American and Japanese sides work, like I always find it tough to figure out who's really running the show.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just gonna be weird to watch. Derek, what's your take, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I think like on paper and like kind of like in the abstract, it's a little worrisome because, you know, we've had some people leave, and this is not the best timing in the world, even if it's completely amicable, right? If there's no drama behind the scenes, which, you know, I mean, we haven't really seen much indication beyond people leaving that there is. I'm inclined to believe that a lot of the rumors about stuff going on behind the scenes come from people leaving rather than the rumors being separate and independent. But like ultimately, Sony's not like Nintendo and Microsoft. like Jeff pointed out, like their structures always felt kind of fluid and hard to nail down, and people have been moving around a lot over the last several years anyway, and they've done fine. And like I'm also kind of a believer that shuffling around can be really good. Like I call this blasphemy. I think one of the best things that happened to Nintendo with the Switch generation was Miyamoto basically retiring. And Shinya Takahashi taking his place, because I know that we love our grandpa Miyamoto, but like nobody is the right person for the job forever. And eventually it's smart to get people moving around. And I don't know. I think we talk about we got to get people on point for messaging and ready for PlayStation 5, but I actually think PlayStation 5 is going to be not the hardest sell in the world. You know what I mean? It's PlayStation 4 plus one, like it's if they just, whoever comes in, as long as they've got something of a tech background, I think they're walking into that shot's been lined up for them already. So unless they're completely incompetent, I think that they've got, like I said, they've got not the hardest task in the world ahead of them.
I'm sorry, when you said as long as they're not incompetent, I just thought if they walked Don Matrick out on the PlayStation.
No, we've got the perfect console for you. It's called the PlayStation 4. Yeah.
And here's our intern Josh. Like, But yeah. So like, I want to know more about what's going on. I want to know why Shawn Layden left. Did he just get did he get poached for a position with a different company? Like a lot of people are guessing Google. Was there really drama behind the scenes? Like, I think that stuff's worthwhile for us to know. But I think that all of that is ultimately just like fun hobbyist speculation stuff for an enthusiast in the end. I think that realistically, the majority of people who play games, the majority of PlayStation fans really don't have much reason to be concerned about these staff shakeups at this point in time.
Yeah.
We'll panic later.
Okay, we'll panic later. Justin, I just want to hear your quick take, and then like maybe broader in terms of PS5 with I guess my thing is that if you have the background on this, and I don't want you to stress about it if you don't, but if you have the background on this, what was Shawn Layden a big advocate for that you can concretely feel like he was a big advocate for that we might be missing here, or is it feel like other people can do what he did?
I'm not really sure. He has a lot of his time. It seemed like he was kind of experimenting with different types of marketing. This year Sony wasn't at E3, but they've been doing their state of plays. They had, a separate announcement thing for Death Stranding. They've been doing, more kind of direct marketing instead of just getting everybody on stage to show some trailers. And like I said, he's also already moved positions within PlayStation. He went from being president of PlayStation US to working with Worldwide Studios. And Worldwide Studios is the Sony first-party games.
That's the thing, right? Yeah, it's like, how could you be dissatisfied with what he's done?
Yeah, and but Yoshida is still there as far as we know, and like the big things for me that have, really defined PlayStation is, especially with the PlayStation 4 era, is good hardware that developers like. We know Mark Cerny's on the PS5. And so I'm pretty confident on that front. And, their first party output, which a lot of wheels have been in motion for a while. They're not afraid of long development cycles, or anything. And then also the two things that everybody was kind of worried about when Jim Ryan came on as the new head of PlayStation were backwards compatibility and crossplay. We have full backwards compatibility for PlayStation 4 confirmed for PS5. And literally the day after Layden left, there was a lot of murmuring that, crossplay was the reason. He was kind of more open to crossplay. Literally the next day, we found out that Sony has fully allowed crossplay.
Yeah, seems like some convenient marketing strategy there to announce the retirement at 5 p.m. and then the next morning have fresh, good, positive news. But hey, I don't know.
But and so those would be the two areas that I would have been worried about Sony fucking up going into the next generation, and we know those are set. Like those are fine
Yeah.
now. I think Layden seemed like a cool guy. He had been at PlayStation since the beginning, and he had been
yeah,
at
like
Sony.
decades.
He had been at Sony since like '87, I think.
It's fucking crazy.
So I wish him the best. I hope nothing horrible happened behind the scenes.
Yep.
But I know for me, who the executive is doesn't really change too much for me. Because I mean, also that Jim Ryan quote, I'm trying to avoid complacency so we don't, fuck up next gen. Like,
yeah, a shockingly refreshing take from him. Yeah.
Like that's the kind of thing I want to hear them saying. I'm not gonna freak out about it. We'll see how things go. If things go poorly, sorry, my cat. If things go poorly, we'll let them know, and then we'll see how they adjust.
Fair enough. Does anybody else have any closing Sony thoughts before we kind of move into some question bucket stuff?
We're gonna touch more on crossplay, or
oh yeah, let's touch on some crossplay.
Let's talk crossplay.
I feel like it's kind of a big deal for as much as we've harped on it.
I mean it is. I mean it is a big deal, but it's just like it's one of those things where like the press. So to give everybody the top level. So right now, or previously, Sony had crossplay in beta, which meant only select partners could do it. Could have crossplay in their games. So this was games like Fortnite. Call of Duty was announced ahead of time, but Call of Duty is obviously coming out later. And then some smaller free-to-play titles. I think Dauntless did it too, I think. So there's been several titles that have been like trying it. But then notoriously like Chucklefish, I think, was the folks who made Wargroove asked and Sony said no, according to them. So I mean, like it's been hit or miss, but now on Tuesday, right after they announced Shawn Layden's departure, they said that, hey, it's out of beta and now anybody can do it. So that opens the door to, seeing some of your favorite games, your Destinies. Obviously Call of Duty's already doing it. But so theoretically we'll see a wider spread use. The thing is that I found a little bit that made it very transparent that it was PR to cover Layden, was that they did not announce like a range of games that they would be working with that would be kicking it off, which I would expect in a press release. But I mean, who knows? Like it would be nice if they had said like, here's 5 new games that are coming also.
Well, see, the weird thing was it wasn't a press release either. It was literally in a Wired article. They're like, oh yeah, they're not going to announce this publicly, but our developer sources have told us this. Yeah. So it might not have even just happened. It might have been they were poking around, trying to find out what happened with Layden, and then found this out. Because I think it was right around Gamescom. I think there was a few games that were announced that seemed kind of small and kind of strange to be having crossplay. The one that really stuck out in my mind was the Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles remaster.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like your Fortnite, your Call of Duty, let our big partners do it, and then the little guys can do whatever. That was the point where I'm like, they're kind of, maybe they're opening this up more. And I've talked about this a few times, but like, lack of crossplay has been my biggest complaint with PlayStation this generation, especially since it started. A lot of my friends play games on other platforms now, multiplayer games. And I'm somebody that I really like the DualShock 4 because I have wrist issues, and it's one of the few controllers I can use that I don't have that problem. And like, I just want to play where I can be comfortable, and I can play with my friends where they can be comfortable. Zach and I were playing the Call of Duty Modern Warfare beta that had seamless crossplay, like really fast, easy to use, and it was great. And so I like, some people are like, oh, well, about fucking time. I'm just glad that it finally happened. I'm glad that, it happened before the generation transition.
Yep.
We can start fresh now, kind of.
We can start fresh. It's not something we have to worry about. It's not something that they're like sitting on just for like a good PR announcement.
Yeah, they're not banking on that as an easy. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just gonna say, can I be the cynical guy?
Yes.
Can I be the jaded one?
Yes.
Like, I feel like this isn't over. Things always change. Even if Sony's on board now, you still have to get the developers and publishers on board, especially for the big games. I don't think Ubisoft has even talked about crossplay
Well, yeah,
I've never
I mean,
even heard them mention it.
So
I'm
yeah,
just
and-
glad that we no longer have to spam the PlayStation Twitter account.
No, but I
like,
feel like the
it's a
ball
lot.
is-
It's
I
a
feel
lot
like the
easier.
ball is just
Yeah.
handed around constantly, and now someone else has the ball. I wanted everyone to take this with a huge grain of salt because it's from a site called WCCF Tech, which I've seen they've had some very poorly transcribed articles and interviews before. So
That's
they're
yeah.
Yeah.
That site can either have really good rumors,
Yeah.
or just complete and utter bullshit.
Yeah, like,
like
sometimes they
it
just-
runs the complete gamut.
sometimes they just word things poorly, or I don't know. So anyways, they had an interview with the War Thunder developer, and what the War Thunder guys said, this game's been around for a while. They currently have crossplay between, I think it's PC and PS4 and PC and Xbox, but not PS4 and Xbox. And they were discussing Sony's upcoming new crossplay policy, and basically said that they couldn't go into specifics because of like legal restrictions, obviously NDAs. But there's some sort of policy in their new crossplay that prevents them from keeping cross progression. So right now, War Thunder has cross progression across all platforms.
oh, what the
So,
fuck?
so they're like, if we enable this new crossplay policy and adhere to these new policies, all of a sudden we can't do full cross progression because there's
Yo.
certain elements, and that's not like, this isn't saying that Sony is saying you can't, like, they're not blocking. It's just a technicality. There's something in the wording or the legalese where, like, it's gonna prevent them from fully synchronizing in all your stats and your stuff across platforms.
If that's true, that makes me extremely curious. I mean, obviously Destiny
Mhm.
right now, but I mean, it would be interesting to see with cross save. Yeah, that's
But it
fascinating.
could be something as simple as like an API issue.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
right? Like, it could just be a technical bug where like they can't. It doesn't mean they're
I
saying
mean-
like, yeah.
yeah.
Yes, PSN is so garbled that like they had a hard time changing names. So like, I mean, I would believe that it could just be a small technical issue. Huh? That's interesting. I hadn't heard that though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like I imagine you kind of have to have. I mean, it also could just be way like their server and stuff interact. Because I
Yeah.
imagine you have to have it planned to like sync up characters and stuff like against a server with your account so that it can work on multiple platforms. Like, and cross progression, I think also is kind of the harder sell, especially when it comes to like cross purchases and stuff like that. You know, no one that's getting a 30% cut wants people buying things other places or wants people, you know, buying something there and then using it somewhere else. I get that. Which is why, like, I know cross progression is always a weird subject because there's so many factors and it varies so much game to game. But I am just happy with cross play because, okay, my friend can use their character on their platform. I can use my character on my platform. We don't have to worry about syncing it, going back and forth or anything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have anything else we want to touch on before we move over to some fun, goofy, lighter questions? Derek, what do you got? Do you have anything? Tell me, what did you have for lunch today, Derek? Before we move on.
Oh, I didn't.
What?
You didn't have lunch?
No, I'm not
You gotta
feeling
take
good.
care of
I'm not
yourself,
feeling
buddy.
good.
Well,
I
then
had breakfast and I had dinner, but I didn't have lunch.
What'd you have for breakfast?
I had a big old muffin. A
Nice.
big old
Okay.
banana walnut muffin.
Ooh. All right. Fine. We'll move on. We'll move on to questions. Okay, so this one comes from Kyle. Kyle said he couldn't be here tonight, Kyle Foley, but he did ask one question for us. So if you're stranded on a desert island and you could have one video game character stranded with you to help you live or just spend time with them, who would it be? This is a very weird one, but also.
Now, see, like, my immediate inclination is to try to think of, like, somebody from some survival-oriented game,
Yeah.
right? But, like, I could also just be, like, fucking Charizard and I fly back, right? Like, we gotta, you know...
Okay, fine. Let's rephrase it. You're on vacation. You know? Like, you want to be on that island.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. See, because part of me wants to have Super Mario Sunshine version of Mario with
Hell yeah.
just so he can
Hawaiian
spray me with
shirt
that
and all?
fucking yeah, spray me with that fucking hose, Mario. Let's go.
Excuse me?
You heard me. Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good one. Fuck, I don't know. Justin, what about you? Sack? Is it Sackboy?
You know, I think Sully.
You know what? You know
Sully
what?
would be a good guy to go on vacation with.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff, you
Sully would
just
have a
got
good
the
time.
you just got the completely subjective question right.
Yeah, that's a good ass answer.
But I also think that Sully would be like Jeff would want to like, you know, maybe swim in the water, go wakeboarding, build a sandcastle, and Sully's like, no, lounging, smoking a cigar. Like he has no interest in doing what you want to do on vacation. He's a selfish vacationer.
If you forced Erdnot Rex to go on vacation to like a vacation ass island, what would fucking happen? I might pick Rex from Mass Effect just to see what happens when you force him to stick around on a beach and chill.
There'd be a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that part.
The other beach
Somebody's getting headbutted.
But also, like maybe it's kind of I see in my head I'm imagining you fighting with Rex, but also kind of thematically close to like the Top Gun beach volleyball sequence.
Yeah,
Like, it's
what
a
does
little bit of that.
Krogan look like shirtless? Can he surf? Is he buoyant? Like
Also, CJ Waypoint in chat also brought up a good point, which is Funky Kong seems like an excellent choice.
Oh hell yeah.
Funky, yeah. I mean, obviously Funky Kong.
Brandon's not on the show. Brandon said Joel from The Last of Us.
I think that was from when it was still the survival thing.
Okay.
no, it's great either way.
Yeah. Joel's actually just ready to work on his tan. Actually,
Yeah.
God.
Can I go to the beach with Coltrane?
Yes, absolutely.
Coltrane, baby.
So fucked up. The caricature in the early game is so fucked up. It's not.
But
good.
I love him. Unironically,
No, he's a good
all
character.
the way through. But yeah, number one was a little.
He did a rap over the
did
credits
they change
of
his
one, didn't he?
voice between 4 and 5? He sounds like a very different voice actor.
No, I don't think. No. It's always been the same voice actor.
Just
He's
better
just old
voice
as
direction,
shit.
you think? Yeah.
Yeah. Also better direction. I mean, they're like, hey, maybe we shouldn't make you a. Yeah, which is cool that they decided to not do that. Yeah, okay. Does anybody else have any cool, fun beach vacation friends from video games they would bring with? No Kirby stands here.
I mean, I don't want to get eaten.
Kirby would just sleep and then eat a watermelon. Like
Kirby's cute, but I don't really want to be around him for long periods of time.
It's dangerous, honestly.
Okay.
I think that's bad.
All right, fair enough. All right, another question. This one is from CJ, who is in the chat. Okay, so if any developer or publisher was going to make a Smash Bros. Style game, which company do you pick, and what would be your first 3 reps? He says no Nintendo, obviously. So I guess this is like, your PlayStation All Stars, I guess, would be like what?
Just like everything other than Smash, essentially.
Yeah, basically, don't be Nintendo. So like, yeah, do you want your Bandai Namco's? I get like.
I feel like it's got to be
Capcom.
Ubisoft. Capcom's good.
Wait, so Jeff, no, unpack for me. Wait, unpack for me what you think of Ubisoft.
I gotta listen to what you got before I go.
I'm totally naming Aiden Pierce.
I feel like Nintendo has a thing going where even though the characters are from all these different games, they all jive very well together. And I feel like Ubisoft does not have that synergy. So like,
I don't know.
The idea of like Sam Fisher and like some Rabbids and one of the Assassin's Creed guys, and they're all in their own characters. I don't know. It would be
main character from Child of Light, completely accurate to the art style. Like
the
and
car
also
from
the
the
Ghost
crew.
Recon. The Ghost Recon man is there, and he just keeps using a gun. It seems really
Shitballs.
weird.
Yeah.
Also, it also is like every Ubisoft game this generation. Tonal whiplash, and so some characters are extremely gruesome and violent, and the rabbits are adorable. But you can absolutely murder them because, of course, it's Ubisoft. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Derek, walk us through Capcom. What would a Capcom fighter look like?
I'm a big believer. Well, I mean, Capcom makes a lot of fighters anyway. I'm a big believer Capcom has the single best, like, stable of franchises outside of Nintendo. And it helps that they've been making crossover stuff forever. Let's skip some of the obvious stuff, right? Like no Street Fighter characters, no Mega Man characters, because you know that they're gonna be in there. You know you're gonna have like Ryu and Chun-Li. You know you're gonna have Mega Man and Zero. You know you're gonna have a couple of Resident Evil characters. Although I'd argue for once, put Leon in the crossover. I'm kind of done with Chris Redfield. Give me my boy Leon. Give the gays some juice. Actually, a lot of us love Chris. That's not. If we get Chris, he needs the sailor outfit. Not the point.
Okay.
You'd obviously have like the Monster Hunter. But I want to see some out there stuff, right? Get us Beautiful Joe. With his gigantic head looking completely different from every other character in the roster.
God, I love Beautiful Joe.
I mean, honestly, I think like the Marvel vs. Capcom series has done a really good job, the Capcom side, of being pretty wild and picking some stuff you wouldn't maybe necessarily think of, or franchises that have been dead. So just keep that same energy would give me an all Capcom game. Like, it's a boring answer, but it's, I feel like, the best answer. Capcom fucking slap. Like,
is there a prominent character in Dragon's Dogma? I feel like everyone loves that game, but I couldn't name.
I mean, realistically, you'd probably just pick like the Arisen, as the main character, and probably like default to like the default appearance you have the like tutorial segment of the game. And actually, that character does have a name. I don't remember it. Does not point like do a Dragon's Dogma character. There's a lot you could do with that shit. You can just throw people, right? That's the best part of Dragon's Dogma.
Question: is it tasteless to say Paradox and then have all the Civ characters fight? Is that tasteless?
No,
that's an amazing idea.
You know that on the box art, Gandhi has to be the one looming in the background with a nuclear cloud coming out from behind him.
Like if that box art is Gandhi punching Hitler, like trillions of copies sold.
Oh, shit.
I'm trying to think, like, I mean, I guess PlayStation All-Stars is a thing that's never coming back, but was an interesting idea.
It should, but it won't.
I mean, can the Forza cars just have Forza cars? Just
like that bonus mode in Enter the Matrix where the cars could fight? Yeah. Capcom was going to be my answer, too. I agree with Derek. That's that would actually make for a good game. But then, like, also a fun one could be like Bethesda All-Stars, where you could have like Doomslayer and BJ Blazkowicz and like some like the Fallout bobblehead dude.
Hey, that's called Quake Champions, baby, and
that's right. I forgot that it exists.
Yup. So did Bethesda.
Oh,
that's not true. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to punch down.
Hey. Great
mean, I think you might be right.
Devolver.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Yep. Devolver's got it, actually.
Devolver would be ridiculous.
And then they would shamelessly finally admit that all style that they keep funding, but that's okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So CJ has slightly adjusted it, and he said, "Okay, now which three game industry people would you have fight each other?"
Oh.
Eves,
well, I mean,
obviously, Eves and Phil Spencer.
Yeah.
And then who is the EA guy that also looks like the antagonist of Mirror's Edge Catalyst? Is it just their CEO?
It's their CEO, yeah.
The Soderbergh?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Soderbergh, I think.
Andrew?
So here's the question.
It's a name.
Would Keeley be the announcer or would he be a playable character?
So Keeley, no. Keeley would act like he's the announcer, but he'd be handing some people advantages.
Keeley's an assist, like he's special
an assist
moves for Kojima.
Yes.
If you quarter circle forward punch, then Keeley runs out and punches.
If you hit that LB, he comes in for that assist. Are you kidding? Absolutely. Yep. Now is the Schick Hydrobot in this scenario?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, he's gotta be.
This
Iconic.
doesn't work without Hideki Kamiya. All right. I know that people may not always like his Twitter feed, but
he just blocks everybody.
Hideki Kamiya, first off, strongest defense in the game, right? By far. But just get him in the outfit that he's in that old photo. The one with him and his mom from like the 80s or whatever, when he's a teenager and looks like the most metal motherfucker on the planet. Like, Hideki Kamiya.
But secretly, none of his attacks are very good because, like Platinum, it just struggles to make a good game. Is that where we're going with this?
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
No, that's a spicy
Sorry.
take. It's okay.
Sorry.
I love
But
you.
that makes a good game.
I like
I
that
think-
the
I feel-
chat is getting into like the nitty gritty of like what inputs would do
Yeah.
well in these games.
Ken Levine will be featured in the market. Will be unlocked.
I mean, Bobby Kotick is the final boss, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like,
For sure.
he's like master hand.
Yeah. And the only way
now-
to defeat him is to remind people that he's in that he was in Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book.
Yeah.
Also, Ken Levine will be a really cool character in that you can never knock him off. Really good at getting right in the center and not actually doing anything interesting. Just like those sweet politics of Bioshock Infinite. Getting right in the centerism and both sidesing it and never really say anything of input. Yeah, really, uh-oh.
So Randy Pitchford would be in, right?
Well, yeah.
He would
I
be
mean-
there, but also he wouldn't. You know, he kind of
Yeah.
appears and disappears like a magician.
He just kind of
Like a
shows up
magician.
as a stage hazard to like.
And then you knock him off and he
Pure
yells, "Why would
bullshit.
you fuck me like this?"
Yeah.
Yeah. God. Yeah. So, Shawn.
By the way, we just got blacklisted by every single public.
Hang on.
So yeah.
We haven't done Will Wright yet.
Yeah, like SDGC currently like slowly building fan base. Also us, hey industry, fuck you, and we're gonna drag every one of your executives. Yeah, we're looking forward to catching that MeUndies money at this
Yeah.
point. It's gonna be great.
Hey, look, everybody
God.
can get an Audible.
Yeah. Us, baby.
Sponsorship, like.
Peter Molyneux has a huge expansive attack list, and then when you get the game, doesn't work. Is that how? What's the spicy Peter Molyneux take here? Is there one?
I
Yeah.
mean, Todd Howard immediately falls through the floor, right?
Well, yes. Constantly in T-pose also. Beautiful.
Yeah.
God. Wow, I feel like we've really dragged this question worse than it should have been. Okay. Yeah.
I've got
Good
one,
question.
Zach.
Okay, yes, Jeff.
This came from, I believe it's Seamus, at the official
Okay.
account. I'm gonna modify the question a little bit because I think the question as it's worded is a little hard. He says, since it's spooky month now, what are some of the scariest moments in games? He asked that are not horror games, but I think we could just go with what are the scariest moments in games? Or anything that stands out to you? Horror, not horror, just what really
from-
like freaked you out?
From not horror, I mean the game didn't end up fully leaning into this, but like the third act of Firewatch is like really unsettling.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
The first time I saw a Re-Dead
Oh.
in Wind Waker.
In
An
any Zelda
Ocarina
game,
of
but-
Time. Wind Waker's design was upsetting, but the first time that thing looked at me and screamed, and I froze. When I was like 8 years old. That did me in.
Not a fan. Oh. Mm-mm. Can I be okay. Nintendo 64 had a couple of great examples for me. Banjo-Kazooie, Clanker's Cavern. Anybody remember Banjo-Kazooie at all?
I
only
remember
played
the
Tooie,
game,
baby.
but it all blurs together.
Okay,
I
going
remember-
Tooie for this
it's
boy.
the third level. You're going through the pipe into the main area of the level, and you see the gigantic robot shark. Honestly, like water shit in general is hard for me.
Yeah.
The shark in again Banjo-Kazooie, the eel in Super Mario 64, not great.
No, that eel upset one of my friends
Yeah.
so badly.
Any water dungeon in a Zelda game is just a hard time.
Derek, what do you think about the shark in Resident Evil? First one.
In the original Resident Evil on PlayStation, not too bad. I could handle it. The GameCube remake, fuck my ass, dude. That thing is nope. It is Nope City. Also the whichever Colossus is the eel in Shadow of the
Yeah.
Colossus. Like when I first had to deal with that, I sat watching that thing for 30 goddamn minutes before I even got in the water, and I just immediately like nope over to the little raised area. It took so long before I actually attempted to fight it, which is weird because like it didn't even really attack you. It just kind of comes up, and sometimes the fins have a little electricity around them, but nope. Water shit, dude. Water shit. I don't fuck with it.
Jeff, what scared you, buddy? Unpack your fears for me.
It's not a scary moment, but so I'm a little bit better now because I have a finished basement, so I have to be. But I didn't used to like anything dark. When I was a kid, like the light switch for the basement, usually there's one at like the bottom of the stairs and the top of the stairs, but there was only one at the bottom of the stairs. So I'd have to turn off the light and be in pitch darkness for a period of about 15 seconds as I ran as fast as I could to get out of the basement. I don't
feel like it's
sort of,
universal, right?
yeah, I like the lights to be on. I like a well-lit
Okay.
room. So Gone Home was very nerve-wracking for me
Yeah.
to play. The way you just progress through the house and gradually turn on the lights, and I don't know, like I don't ever
It does
remember if
always
they
feel
said
like
it.
it's going to be a little scary, kind of.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was intentional. I didn't read enough interviews with like Steve Gaynor or any of the developers, but that entire game I just had this overwhelming sense of dread, like something fucking terrible is gonna happen. And it was
Yeah,
that
I
was
remember
probably the one that sticks out for me.
there was a whole thing when that game came out where a lot of people thought it was going to be a horror game, and it was
Yeah.
not.
Well, it's like
And-
thunderstorm at night, and you don't
Yeah.
know where your family is. It's
Yeah.
like a little bit of a spooky
Yeah.
setup.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I remembered another one. There's one point in BioShock Infinite where like you go into a room, like usually jump scares don't get me. I'm usually pretty solid when it comes to jump scares. But there is this one point I was just caught so off guard in BioShock Infinite. Like you just go and hit a switch, and then one of those like guys with like the tube, like the tuba like things that come out
Oh
of the sides
yeah.
of their heads.
Yeah.
You turn around and there's one in your face and it just screams. That has gotten me worse than any other jump scare.
Yup. I guess another thing, terrible puzzle sequence, but in the original Max Payne, there's like the nightmare sequence where you're like
Oh,
walking
yeah.
along the blood trail. Again, terrible puzzle, but also a little bit spooky because like I think the whole time like they're playing like I mean, and it's super repeating because it's an old game, but like they keep repeating like your wife screaming and a baby crying. It's the fucking worst, actually. But yeah, like otherwise this gen, I can't think of anything that's like been truly. I mean, obviously like the Resident Evil games this gen have been a little bit spooky, but otherwise, I can't think of any like. I'm trying to think like indie stuff, but like even then, like Oxenfree is designed to be scary, and like it
Yeah.
has its creepy moments for
Some of that
sure.
stuff that's not like not where horror isn't one of the like subgenres. That's where it gets
Yeah.
harder, right? Like, this generation's not been bad for horror like this last several years, but
We've gotten a lot better at it, and I think that's why there feels like for example, like Stories on terrifying game, but also like it doesn't resonate in the same way as like there's nothing here that's scarring you. It's just like good slow burn, right? Like
Yeah.
it just feels like we've gotten a little bit smarter about
I
it.
gotta shout out Soma.
Yeah,
Soma
Soma
played it.
rules.
Soma is one of the most terrifying fucking games. And it starts because like, ooh, it's spooky and it's underwater and there's things, but like the writing of that game is one of the most horrifying scenarios I think I've ever been. That is existentially scary.
Observation's pretty
great.
Observation is
another
great. Like that was a game that like I didn't exactly enjoy playing it, but the story was well.
Observation is the coolest
sticking
fucking
with it.
indie like sci-fi horror film
Yeah.
that shouldn't have been a game. It should have been just a movie. But
Yeah.
it was
But like the intro section and the ending gave me such chills in
Fuck
that
me
game.
up.
And also for people who haven't played Soma yet, they actually the enemies are still there, but like they don't pose a threat and they can't hurt you anymore. So it's just like moody.
Yeah.
And it's like honestly a great way to play through the game. Care about the narrative, and I'd say the story stuff is like super worth playing.
I
And
don't
also,
think-
it's-
I don't
That's
think the
Jet Mode
enemies
right there. I'll play that.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
the enemies in Soma are actually even much of a threat, to be honest with you. They seem like they're more of a threat than they are.
they're
They're more
just
annoying.
But a lot
they
of times,
chase you.
they can still be very intimidating if you don't know that they're basically just going to slowly chase you and never actually be able to catch you if you run. But
Honestly, the sections with the monsters in Soma were more annoying than they were scary. Like the rest of the game is far more unsettling than the parts with the monsters.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, guys, do we have any more questions or anything else we want to touch on? Ed?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, well, guys, there's a lot of games out. Y'all, I shouldn't say guys, but y'all, there's a lot of games out this weekend. Take time to take care of yourself if you can. Play some games, have fun, enjoy. Stay out of the shitty Twitter if you can. I'm gonna try to stay off of shitty Twitter.
I'm gonna stay on the
Yeah.
good Twitter.
Yeah,
Right.
enjoy that.
It's very
Also,
difficult.
you know, jump into the Todd Phillips Joker discourse. It seems really good.
Yeah.
Jump right
Seems like a
in.
great time.
Yeah.
We do have
That
some-
discourse has been going on for 3 months, and the movie came out today.
we do have some housekeeping, if I may.
Yep.
So we do have the SDGC morning show tomorrow
Yes.
morning at 9 a.m. And I don't know if we have a topic. Right now it's only me and John, and we'll see if we can grab a third person. But like, whatever, we're gonna get on. We're gonna shoot the shit. We're gonna have a good time. People who are up that early. And then coming up, we are gonna be doing a basically 24-hour live stream for Extra Life, which is November. What is that? 2nd? Right? It's the first Saturday in November.
Okay.
So I believe it's November 2nd. Yeah, because Halloween is Thursday and then Friday's
2nd.
1st. So it'll be November 2nd. That'll be me and John. I'm actually doing the 9-hour drive out to where John lives, and we've got a bunch of stuff lined up to do. So please show up. It's for a good cause. It's for charity. Watch, make some donations to kids' hospitals and stuff. We're going to keep harping on that stuff. Watch John and I suffer through Hyperdimension Neptunia.
I'm
Because
so excited.
yeah,
I'm
it's
so excited.
Zach, you should look it up. John is banned from looking it up, but you need
Is
to.
it an anime?
It's a really bad anime game.
It's full anime.
No. You don't understand. My wife made a rule. There's no anime in this house, and frankly, I abide.
Yeah, it's
Zach,
it's bad.
Zach, it's not just anime. It's anime.
Yeah.
Mm.
All of the main characters are like questionably aged girls based on game consoles. It's really bad. It's really dumb.
That sounds awful.
It's not good.
Okay, well, everybody stay safe. Have an anime-free weekend and take care of each other.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Love y'all.